Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Wow Wednesday. I am your host, Nancy Matthews, and I'm one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network, along with my two sisters, Susan Winter and Trish Carr. And it is our pleasure and our privilege to bring you this weekly broadcast sharing tools, tips, and resources so that you can live your best life. Today, we have Diane Armitage with us, and she's going to be sharing about how to utilize your built-in tower of power, like just saying those words lift me up. Um, how to use your built-in tower of power for all the success that you want. So I'm delighted that she's with us today, and I'll bring her on in just a moment. I want to share a few announcements coming up. We are in the holiday season. I've got my little Grinches over here. Don't know if you can see them or not. My, not Grinches, gnomes. We've got my little gnomes. Everybody's getting into the zone of the holidays. And I want to invite everybody as we step into this next week to look for love everywhere that you go, right? Some people are not having such a good time this holiday season. Perhaps you're missing loved ones. Perhaps your house is full of loved ones. Wherever that process is, I invite us all to look for love and be the one to spread some love and cheer, because I promise you, sharing love is always going to be received in a beautiful way. And then you get to be the one to make a difference in someone else's life. With that said, next Wednesday is actually Christmas morning. So, for the first time in many, many years, we will not be doing a WOW broadcast next Wednesday to honor the space of Christmas Day, which is also coincides with Hanukkah. So, I invite you to take some time for yourself and your families and your friends next Wednesday. The following Wednesday, which is New Year's Day, I will be bringing to you my annual New Year's message. So we're going to come together on New Year's Day. We're going to change the time because maybe you're going to party the night before. I know I'll stay up a little later than I normally do. I'll probably stay up till midnight. Oh my goodness. Anyway, um, we are going to do the New Year's Day broadcast for Wow Wednesday at 12 Eastern. So sleep in, get your dreams and your visions and your desires, kind of formulated, and come to the New Year's Day message, 12 p.m. Eastern on Wow Wednesday. Yes, it will, New Year's Day. So that's the announcements I've got to share. Now I get to give you the opportunity to meet Diane Armitage as she shares with us how we can utilize our built-in tower of power. See, I'm sitting up a little straighter every time I say it. For all the success that you want. Let me tell you about Diane. 30 years ago, she was a brand new entrepreneur who had absolutely no idea what she was doing. I can relate to that one. But on her first day of business, Bob Proctor, the legend and one of the world's greatest teachers on human potential and success, chose Diane to be his writer. Like, oh my goodness, for you to have that proximity and be able to contribute, to the work that the beautiful body of work that Bob Proctor put out in the world is amazing. And then for the next 27 years, Diane and Bob worked as writing partners, creating his curriculum, his programs, and marketing to help millions of people transform their lives. Also, the 30-year owner of a global marketing agency, Diane partnered with clients such as Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, REI.com, the Biltmore Hotel, Remax International, and Patagonia.com. Today, she mentors as a master teacher at a global level, teaching entrepreneurs like you and me and wannabe entrepreneurs and business leaders how to reconnect with the power and genius they already have locked inside and to operate their lives and businesses on their terms. Please join me in welcoming Diane Armitage.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I just so appreciate being here. I love it.
Yeah, we love having you. And like, oh my goodness, to be chosen by Bob Proctor to be his writing partner for 27 years. Like, I have a feeling you were a big part of the secret sauce behind the scenes. that nobody
We
knew
had a
about.
lot of fun working out a lot of curriculum and fun campaigns for people. We did.
Yeah, that is absolutely beautiful. That is beautiful. So thank you for being with us today. And let's jump in because I want to say it again because it makes me feel good. Tell me about this Tower of Power.
Oh, the Tower of Power. Well, so most people don't understand that they have this managing director, this internal director that's running the show of their lives. And it's based on these six intellectual factors that we all have. So, we humans have these six intellectual factors. No other creature on the planet has these factors. And Bob used to talk about them all the time. And if you want to write these down, you have intuition,
Mm-hmm.
you have imagination,
Mm-hmm.
will, memory, perception, and reason, the reasoning mind.
Okay.
And,
Intuition. Hold on. I want to make sure I
mhm,
got them all. Intuition, imagination, will,
yep,
perception,
hmm
and
memory.
that's all I got.
Yeah,
Memory.
you're close. Memory and
Okay.
reason. After today, you'll remember this like it's like so easy to remember
All right,
these
good.
four words. So they are the six mental factors. And Bob used to talk about it all the time. And he'd say, this is what separates us. We can change our environment because we have these six mental factors. But then he would just move on and start teaching something else. I had this realization a few months ago that it actually is a hierarchy, these six mental
Mm,
factors. And when you understand how they work in the hierarchy, you can manifest so quickly and you can achieve so much more at a quantum level because it's all in there and you are consciously directing it in its hierarchy. Does that make sense?
uh, that makes sense. And what I'll say to that is, I'm ready, as I bet everybody else listening in is. Manifest faster and easier at a quantum level by harnessing these mental faculties we have already have within us. I think
Yes.
people who are wanting to grow to that next level look outside themselves for the answers
Mhm.
when the place to start is right here.
Absolutely. In
Yeah.
fact, we are energetic creatures, right? And we're always energetically interacting with all of the energy around us. And whether we like the results or not, it is our energy that we're putting out there that is creating the reality that we have. So we might as well start getting conscious about it and really understanding how much power we really have to control the outcomes of our lives.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I,
Okay.
I got my
So
pen.
you got your pen. Okay, so I'll tell you quickly about the six factors, and then I'll tell you how to put them in the order that you need to have them in. Okay,
Okay.
so your intuition, of course, I call your intuition and your imagination more of your I call them more of your spiritual factors because we are spiritual beings. We all came to this planet with a spirit, a very high-minded, enthusiastic spirit who came to be a catalyst on this planet, and that spirit is connected to a source. You can say it's a divine force, you can say it's God, you can say it is a source, but it is connected to a much greater energy. And it's always flowing to and through us. So your intuition and your imagination are at the top of the tower because they're more of our spiritual factors. And they are feeding from this energetic ether. That's why you can say you can pluck an idea from the ether and turn it
Mhm.
into a reality. That's because we have this connection and it operates at this really amazing level. So, those are the highest faculties we have. So, when you think about that, you're already bigger than a human being. You're this energetic being who begins to understand that you've really got something big going on. And so there are these other reasoning factors or these other factors that fall into play. But the really big guy is at the bottom of the tower, and that's your reasoning mind. And the problem most people have with the reasoning mind, it's divided into two factors, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And your reasoning mind is what drives all of your beliefs and all of your actions. So your conscious mind drives your beliefs. It takes all these ideas, it puts them all together, it decides what's true for your life, feeds it into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind says, okay, I will accept anything that you give me, and I'm going to take it and run with it and make it a reality in your life. And that's the way the reasoning mind works. So in most cases, when we have this really big idea and we have this really big goal and we're inspired, you get that sparky feeling and you're like, oh, I have this
Oh
really
yeah.
huge idea.
Yeah.
Immediately, in most cases, we dump it all the way down to the reasoning mind and we're like, how can I do this?
Right.
And your reasoning mind is like, you can't. You've never done it before. You don't
Who
know
do you
how.
think you are? You don't know how to do that. That'll never work. And what about
Exactly.
this? And what about that?
So
The little,
many people are
yeah,
smarter than you.
uh,
They should do it. We're going to keep you safe in this little world of yours, right? Because
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
the job of the reasoning mind is to do, to just keep you
Mhm.
safe and on the path, doing the thing that you've always done. And so anytime you want to do something that you've never done before and you take it to your reasoning mind, it just kicks it to the curb, right?
Yeah,
It's like, no.
and I often think about this, and it's like going, "Whoa, Nelly, right? What do you think you're doing?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've discovered, and let's speak to this just for a little bit, is this reasoning mind, this subconscious mind. Its job is to keep you safe and
Mm-hmm.
alive.
Yep.
And the best way that it knows to do this is to keep everything the same. Because you may
Everything the
not
same.
like it, but you're alive,
Exactly.
right? Yeah,
It may not even be what's right for your life because it's
yeah.
usually somebody else's idea. In most cases, it was all of these paradigms or the beliefs that came from your parents, your grandparents, your coaches, your teachers, all the people who said, you're not smart enough. Your brother is smarter than you. You're never going to lose that weight because we're always chunky in this family. Things like that.
Mhm.
You carry it with you. Money doesn't grow on trees. That's another big one, right? And
Yeah.
so it keeps you in the lane. And this is why when you have this big idea and this big goal, you set yourself up and you get all excited about doing it. And you may put a few things in place. And in a few days, a few weeks, you just fall off of it because your reasoning mind is like, forget it. You don't need to do this.
So it feels a little fatalistic. What do we do?
Well, you get the reasoning mind to work with you because you decide
Okay.
you're in charge of your tower of power, right?
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
so you've got your intuition, you've got your imagination, you've got your reasoning mind all the way down here. And the other things that fill in are your will. So your will is really it's not necessarily your willpower, but it is your decisive factor. It's like the pivoting point in your tower of power that continues to keep you focused and moving on toward the goal because you see the bigger result. So you've got your will and you have your memory, and your memories can be swayed in one direction or the other by your perception. Because if you think about it, Nancy, whenever anything happens in your life, it could be somebody cuts you off in traffic, it could be that somebody says something to you that triggers something that you heard when you were a child. It's just a fact. But what you assign to it emotionally is your perception, right? And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah. And so when you think about how much power your perception has, you're looking at all these memories and you're saying, well, I didn't achieve that before, so I might as well back off of this idea. Well, I didn't have this happen. I didn't have that happen. And what's really happening is your reasoning mind is still trying to keep you safe by working all the way up the tower of power and saying, okay, no, we're not going to, no, we're just going to remember all the bad memories you have of being a failure and not having achieved this before.
Hmm.
And your perception is going to stay really strong on the fact that you're just not that kind of a person. And it's actually going to mess with your will all the way up at the top of the tower. And your will is just going to go, I give up. Right. So, what
Yeah.
you do instead is you work from the top down on your tower of power. So you start with your intuition, this big, beautiful intuition that's connected to source. You have all these grand ideas, and you know that when you have a great idea, understand that you can accomplish it. You can accomplish it. You never have an idea that you can't do. You just don't. And so when you grab this idea, then you feed it immediately into your imagination because that's where the big fertile field is. That's where you begin to see yourself in that space. You feel yourself in that space. You and Trish talk about it all the time about being in the space,
Yeah.
being in the
And
space.
and so I think if I'm capturing this correctly, what typically happens is intuition, inspired idea comes in, and we immediately send it all the way down to the reasoning mind.
Mhm.
that brings, all of the past memories, concerns, fears, and doubts. And then you work your way back up again or try.
Right.
Instead,
Climb the
intuition,
tower.
yeah, climbing, it sounds like hard work. Intuition to imagination, which is where possibilities exist. Instead of saying,
Absolutely.
I can't do this, the reasoning mind is going, you'll never be able to do that. The imagination taps into this question, inspired idea. I'll never be able to do that. No, 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 let's use our imagination. But what if I could?
But what if I could? That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So remember, the one thing that you want to remember as you work down the tower of power is that you've had all kinds of successes in your life that you've achieved before you didn't know how to do it. You didn't know how to drive a stick shift. You didn't know how to you didn't know how to tie your shoes. You didn't know how to go to college and get a degree. You didn't know how to do all kinds of things that you've managed to accomplish. So your imagination really helps you with that. It helps you in the memory and perception area as well. But the great thing with that imagination is to just keep picturing that end result, which you guys are so good at teaching, because that is where you want to be. And you also talk about the celebration, which is so, so important, because
Mhm.
then you've already got in mind how you're celebrating and how you're feeling in the moment of having achieved that big goal. That's all imagination, right?
Yeah.
So then you work into your will, you bring that beautiful idea into your will, and your will latches onto it and says, you know what? This is for you. You have so much power and you are so empowered. This is for us. We are moving this thing forward, and I'm going to help you. And the will also, I think, is connected to all of the forces, the energetic forces out there, including law of attraction, the law of
Mhm.
vibration,
Yeah.
that begins to work in your favor. So you're not gritting your teeth and working it down. You're understanding that you have supportive forces all around you that are going to help you carry this forward with you. And then you move into your memory. And this is where you start reminding yourself of all your mighty, mighty wins, everything that you've accomplished, everything that's happened in your world that's been so beautiful and wonderful. And you do not let that reasoning mind come up the tower. And when it wants to come up and go, well, that was just a little thing, and this is a really big no. Down you go. You go back down there, because I'm going to fill my mind with all of the beautiful wins I've already accomplished in my life, all of the catalytic things that I've done in this world as a catalyst and as a co-creator, how I've created ripples in the world already. And then that is in tune with your perception, and your perception is like, yeah, you're right. You are actually a pretty big winning person. You actually do have it going on. And as you bring it all the way down, you feel how powerful you feel. You feel how imaginative you feel. You feel like the artist in you is already awake and alive. And you're moving this idea down the tower of power. And then you arrive at the reasoning mind. And when you arrive at the reasoning mind with all of this momentum and all of this belief and faith, the reasoning mind says, okay, this is a new belief. I'm going to accept it and just move it right into the subconscious mind. It doesn't fight you. It doesn't fight you, because you've already built up all of the arguments, so to speak, and the momentum and the belief and the faith. And you move it into your reasoning mind. Your reasoning mind says, okay, conscious mind is accepting this idea. Conscious mind is accepting this idea. This is why it's so important to do those affirmations. It's why it's so important to journal every day about being in the space of your life, having achieved that reality. You
Yeah.
continue to feed those repeated ideas, because the repeated ideas are what convinces the conscious mind that this is the new belief. And
Mhm.
the conscious mind opens the door to the subconscious mind, and subconscious mind cannot reject, it can only accept. And it says, okay, I'm creating this reality. It's the order of the day.
Yeah.
And this is how the new manifestations move into place.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as you were describing this of, starting with intuition, then imagination, will, perception, memory, then reason, I had this vision, right? Of you've got five people, 5 parts of you, 5 factors coming to meet up with the one reason, and reason goes, oh, there's 5 of you here, right?
A
As
board of
opposed to
directors.
into, huh? Yeah, a
A
whole
board
board
of
of
directors.
directors. We've already been through this. This is a good thing. It's easier for the reasoning mind, the subconscious mind, to accept it because there's more evidence. Ooh, if all 5 parts, this board of directors says this is a good thing, let's go with it. And now your reasoning mind works in partnership with those other factors to bring about the manifestation.
That's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful summary.
Yeah, I
Reverend
had
Michael
this.
Beckwith talks
Mm,
about changing from a reasonable thinking to allowing real thinking to emerge.
mm,
Real thinking, where you have your right of way as you consciously nurture your new idea with this intuitive guidance. And you color it with your imagination. You
I
bring
love
that
that.
idea under your protective will, and then you move that through the memory movie of your life of all of your triumphs. That's real thinking. This is who you
Yes.
really are because you are this energetic, expansive, expressive spirit.
Mhm. Yeah, and I've also, I love Michael Beckwith as well, and follow his teachings, and the reasoning mind, the other thing to consider, because I want to look at, so how do we shift our default behavior to go from intuition to reason? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the paradigm that most are living in. How
Mm-hmm.
do we actually create that change? Because with a paradigm, you get stuck in a groove, in a rut of working in a certain way over and over again. There's a pattern there. How do we break those
Mm-hmm.
patterns of behavior?
I think one of the big things that helped me when I was working with Bob, he introduced me to Neville Goddard. You probably know Neville Goddard. And Neville Goddard is just such a great writer. He's heavy water writings, I say. And one of the great things he teaches is that, thinking of the feeling tone that you have, and is this feeling tone of lack or is it a feeling tone of abundance? And what we tend to do is take this big, beautiful idea and we're in this abundance mindset and we drop it down to our reasoning mind and immediately we feel this deflation. That feeling tells us that we've gone the wrong direction on the tower of power. And we think, and we can think consciously, conscious attention, conscious awareness, conscious attention, conscious awareness. This is what I always tell my
Mhm.
clients. We can think consciously, okay, wait a minute. I'm thinking from lack. I'm feeling lack. How do I feel abundance? Oh, let's move this into my imagination and start drawing the picture. Let's start
Right, so
making it
I
bigger.
love it. So our feelings are our guideposts to whether we're operating from imagination or reason, right? So
Right.
check in with your feelings. You have this inspired idea. If your feeling stays with, well, I could do this, and wouldn't it be great if I want to have this? I'm going to feel like this, and that, like that's, you can see my energy around that. Or inspired idea. Oh my God, it's going to be so hard. How many more hours will I have to work to get this done? I'll never find the time. Like, notice the
Mm-hmm.
difference, right? So we're coming from lack or abundance, and just sometimes, I know for me, I don't like putting those labels of lack and abundance because I may not want to admit them, because
Mm-hmm.
it's true. I won't have enough time. That's not me talking from lack. That's me. I know I don't have enough time, right? Isn't that what
Right,
we do?
right. Yeah.
Justify, right?
Well, and
So
the reasoning mind isn't emotional at all. It's that prattler, like you just said. Well, I don't have more time. I can't create more time. It gives you that little, what's
yeah,
your mother going to say? That kind of a
yeah,
thing. And you know immediately that that's the paradigm talking to you, not your inner spirit.
yeah. So notice in that moment. So if you don't, if you can't see it as feeling lack versus feeling abundance, consider it this way. Does it make you feel good, or does it make you feel not good? If it
Exactly.
makes you feel good, you're in imagination, you're in those higher energy levels of creativity. If it makes you feel not good, you're in the reasoning, in the doubt, in the lack. And so that's why I say sometimes I don't like to just give it those labels,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
identify how it makes you feel,
Exactly. I
because
think
our
that's great.
feelings will guide us to what's next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. And you really do. Neville Goddard wrote a little book called Feeling is the Secret, and that's all it's about. He's just like, look, I don't need to tell you all kinds of, theology and ideology. He said, it's the feeling is the secret. How are you feeling? If you're feeling this way, you're moving in the wrong direction. Move in this direction instead. You only have to do a little bit to feel a little better. If you have to remind yourself, sometimes when you drop that idea down and your reasoning mind is like, how, and you feel that coming up, start reminding yourself, wait a minute, I have done this success before. I have achieved this before. I did do this before. I've seen other people do this before, and they are the same energetic spiritual being that I am. And I can
Yeah,
do
so good.
this.
I want to pick up on something you dropped in very quickly that was powerful. And it's if you're not feeling it, you only need to do a little bit. Bring that back.
Well, when you're feeling crummy about something, you only have to move yourself. This is again conscious attention, right? Move yourself to feeling a little bit better. Move yourself to feeling a little bit better. You don't have to try to make the big jump up to bliss, but what you can do is say, how am I going to feel better about this right now? Well, let me remind myself of all of the skills, talents, and abilities I already have that I've developed along the way that that can help me with this idea. Let me remind myself of the Women's Prosperity Network that I'm involved in, the beautiful souls that I've met there, and they may have answers for me and suggestions for me to help me along the way. I don't need to know how. I know that I have plenty of resource and support around me. That alone will make you feel better.
Absolutely.
You're not alone
Absolutely.
out there. You're not doing this by yourself. Someone else has probably done a similar idea and made it happen before. I mean, people look at Elon Musk and they're like, wow, he's the only private company that's put a rocket in the air. Yes, this is true, but NASA did it before him. And so you can look back and back and back and say, okay, there were these troubadours and these pathfinders, and they've all done it before. And all I need to do is follow their path. That makes me feel better right now.
Totally makes me feel better. And what comes to mind right now is one of the other reasoning factors that can get in the way of allowing that partnership with other human beings, with the universe, is that ego mind that says, but I have to do it myself, because there's a belief in there that if you don't do it yourself, you're not good enough. Like
where do you think we got that idea?
I don't know where.
Yeah.
My
exactly.
dad.
I mean, most of our paradigms are set in our minds before we're 5 years of age.
I know.
And most times those are very well-meaning paradigms and beliefs that come from people who want to keep us alive and safe, like you said. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. It just may not be your belief any longer. It may not fit for your life. And you have every right and ability to create your next new belief
at the next level. And that's what we're here for. And what I know to be true is that the people who are part of our community that tune in for Wow Wednesday, you are listening in because you're here for more. You're not here to settle. You're not here to accept your reasons that keep you the same. You're here to expand to a new level. And I want to say this, just saying the words Tower Power changed my state. Like I want to use a new mantra around that. So thank you for this gift for me personally today.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that our conversation went so fast. It's time to let other people join in. I just looked down and I was like, oh, it's time for Q&A.
My gosh. Well, I would love to chat with anybody who has any questions or whatever.
So I'm going to go ahead and, open up for question and answer. So if you have any questions, insights, or ahas that you'd like to share, this is your opportunity to work, get one-on-one input with Diane, who is, as you can see, absolutely brilliant and here to be of service to you. So if you're with us on Zoom, you can unmute yourself if you're on the phone or on the computer. If you're here with us through Facebook, you can put your question in the thread and I'll go ahead and bring it to the table. Before we do that, this is the tip of the iceberg. And you have created an amazing gift for everybody here. So please describe what that is, and I will give everyone the link in a moment.
Well, I know that the whole Tower of Power concept can be a bit hefty to take on in a 30-minute conversation. So I have a masterclass that I taught on your built-in Tower of Power. And I also have a 20-page workbook that goes along with it. So it's at my website at dianearmitage.com/mytower. And you just put in your name and you'll get that video and the big workbook as well. You can listen to it as many times as you want. And I think that it will be a real help for you if you hear it one or two more times to really solidify it in your mind.
Right, because what we're doing is we need to create new thinking habits, new patterns, so that we go intuition, imagination, will, perception, memory, then reason, as opposed to the way things are wired now. We need some rewiring. It goes from intuition to reasoning and typically gets stuck. Right?
Stops there. It gets kicked to the curb.
It gets kicked to the curb. All right. So thank you for this gift. So this is a free thing you did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone. Oh, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of that beautiful stuff. So go to dianearmitage.com/my tower. So DianeArmitage.com/my tower, all one word, no hyphens or anything. So grab that and give yourself this gift, this generous gift from Diane, and dive right in. And I love that you said listen to it one or two more times. Kind of like a great movie that you'll go back and watch again. Don't you pick up different things each time? Right. So we want to be able to do that. And really, this is your opportunity to shift the way 2025 goes for you by accessing all of these mental and spiritual faculties in the proper order for your quantum leap and quantum results. So I'm so grateful. I can't wait to listen in. Let's open up.
And I'm really proud of you because you've got the whole tower already figured out. You're like, boom, 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 boom. You remembered everything. That was awesome.
I needed you to tell me a few times. I'm like, I want this. So I'm going to work on it. Okay. Let's go ahead. I've got a couple of questions in the chat already. I've got some hands raised. So let me start with Alicia Alexander. You're up first.
Good morning, ladies. Diane, thank you so much for this Wow Wednesday. My question to you is, how do you, once you understand the Tower of Power, how do you line up action to make it complete?
Well, I remember when Bob was working with me all those years, I was kind of like the little Padawan with the Jedi Master. And he would say, do the action that seems to make the most sense, even if it's something small, because the next step will come along and the next step will come along. When you stay in the inspired state, there are things that you think, well, okay, I probably need to do this, and this probably needs to fall into place, and this probably needs to fall into place. I teach a class called the buoy exercise, where I talk about an outrigger race that I had to do and how you have to make different buoys for everything that you think needs to be accomplished, even if you don't know how to accomplish it, because there will be a person who comes into your world who knows how to get that part of the goal done. But the key is to sit down and think, okay, well, what's an initial action I could take? Like, I remember I wanted to get the penthouse here in the complex that I'm currently in. It sits right on top of a rock over the ocean. It's got this big, beautiful view. And I decided to want it. They had renters in it. And I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get it anyway. And so I told Bob, and I said, okay, this is what I want. So put your visual line on it. And he's like, okay. He says, what are you going to do first? I said, well, I'm going to call the landlord and send her a security check. And I did. She's like, yeah, they're in for 2 years. It's not right. I said, don't worry. I said, it's okay. I'm going to send you the security deposit so that we can just make sure that we get that established, that I'm first right of refusal when they leave. And then I got a storage unit and I started buying furniture and rugs for the penthouse because I already was living in it. It was already mine. And these, I mean, I never talked to the renters. I never said, hey, don't you want to move? But, you know, anything that you can do that's inspired and fun is the action that I encourage you to take. Because as soon as you take that action, the next one will show up, and then the next one will show up. It's like Jack Canfield said in The Secret, you know, you only see so much of the highway in front of you with those headlights on. But as you continue to drive with faith and belief, you know that the road is going to continue to roll before you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I absolutely love that. Just take one small step. You know, I'm reminded when I had my initial vision to be interviewed about my book, The One Philosophy, on a talk show the same night that Bruce Springsteen happened to be on, and we end up singing a song together. Like that, I don't know where that originally came from. And I was like, oh, that would be fun. Like, feel all those fun elements in sharing my message about the one philosophy. So, Alicia, tap into the fun aspect of it when you think about your vision and what would be a fun next step. So, when I had that vision, kind of like you at the penthouse, the first thing I did is I started taking singing lessons. If I'm going to be on the show, right? And I was terrible when I first started singing, terrible.
I doubt that.
No,
That's your reasoning mind talking.
No, it was actually my brother-in-law talking. That's another story. All right, so Alicia,
awesome.
can take that intuition and imagination, and what would be a fun step I could take towards this?
Mm-hmm.
And play in that space. I love that. Thank you for bringing that question, Alicia.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for answering it. I appreciate this so much.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. This is just the beginning for you all. So please remember to go to dianearmitage.com/my tower and get the 40-minute class and the 20-page workbook to guide you and support you. Let me bring some others on the scene. Next up, actually, I'm going to bring you a question from Facebook, which is from my dear friend, Lorna. So Lorna says, what are some techniques outside of affirmations to shift the awareness quickly? So what besides affirmations can we use?
Well, I love the fact that you ladies teach one of the most important factors around, and that is seeing yourself in the space of the dream realized, the goal realized, being in that space. Like if you were to go to sleep at night, being the person who had achieved that, how do you feel? And what are you thinking about what your steps are going to be for tomorrow before you fall to sleep? And in the morning, when you wake up and you're that person who's accomplished this thing, how do you feel? How do you feel? Because that is that feeling tone. And when you can just adapt just that alone, when you go to sleep and when you wake up in the morning, you know, like there are people who say, I've got so much debt. And the first thing I think about is, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to get more money in the door? When you think that thought, you're energetically putting out something that is going to be coming back to you from law of attraction. And you're just going to get more and more of that worry and frantic and debt. And so when you come into a space of financial freedom and feeling like everything is okay, my bank account is huge, everything is wonderful, and I can go do this today in complete confidence because everything is good in my life, it's a whole different energy. And when you put that energy out there, law of attraction responds. Another thing that I recommend very strongly is to write the story of your life in that place of being in that space. And every day, just write another small section, whether it's, you know, when I had this thing talking about getting the man with Bob, you know, he said, look, he said, each day I want you to write about, you know, walking on the beach with him, about flying to Paris and both of you looking out the first class windows as you came into Paris, about, you know, planning a trip together, about fixing dinner together in the house. He said, write just a couple paragraphs every day of a different scenario of you being in that space with that man. Mm-hmm. And he said, this is what moves that manifestation forward faster. And it bathes your mind in what? Imagination.
Yes.
You're using your imagination.
So we want to know, We want to know what happened with the penthouse and what happened with the man.
Well, I got both. The funny
Of
thing was
course.
with the penthouse, she said, well, they're going to be in there for another 2 years. And I said, that's okay. I'm sending you the security deposit. And about 4 months later, she called me and she says, you're not going to believe this. They bought a house. And I said, of course I believe it. And I just had to open my, security unit,
Mhm.
my storage unit, and just put all the stuff.
Move
I
it
had even
over.
picked out the paint. I even had the paint ready.
I
So
love it.
you move forward with the assumption that it's happening, and then that
Mhm.
changes everything.
Yeah, it does. It does. So good. I love this conversation. I know our audience is as well. We've got more questions to come in. Make sure you go to dianearmitage.com/my tower and get the 40-minute class and her 20-page guide. Let's go to our next person to join us, Latasha McCoy. Welcome, Latasha. And I know
Thank
you were on the treadmill, so I don't know if you
off
want to
now.
come. All right, you want to come on screen? I can bring you up.
Sure.
Let's bring you in, my friends. There you go.
Thank you so much. Diane, this has been wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
yes, yes. So I appreciate everything you've shared. Definitely a lot of affirmations for me. I do a lot of reading, a lot. Many of the people that you mentioned, I read their books. So I was like, yes, this is pretty cool to get to meet somebody who's worked with these people. So that's awesome. So my question is, okay, I'm building a team and I'm finding that a lot of people don't have that self-belief. They have the self-doubt, they have low self-esteem, they've been torn down by all these different people and factors and all that. How can I and your guide and everything I'm sure will help, but what would you say as far as helping other people to move into their greatness and realize, they too, they can do it too, and move them into a place where they deserve to be as well, because that's my heart, to help others.
I love that. Yes. Well, one of the easiest things I do when I'm working with teams is I have them write down 3 columns: skills, talents, abilities, on a sheet of paper. And I have them think about the skills that they have, the skills that they've developed. And it could be anything. It could be raising children. It could be making 17 peanut butter sandwiches in 3 minutes. It could be anything, all kinds of skills. Talents. What are these things that came naturally with you? What are these things that have happened, that just naturally occur for you? And then abilities, as in things that you love to do, things that come, things that you love to do, things that you love spending time with, just these abilities that you have. Because the thing is, we all landed on this planet as singular individuals with our own skills, talents, and abilities. And there's not another human being on the planet with that same combination. And this is a great thing to remind your team of, these members. Not a single person on the planet, no, not a single person in the history of the planet has your skills, talents, and abilities. And when you remind yourself of how much you've got going on, and let me help you with some of that, because sometimes I see things in you that I don't think you see in you. So when you remind yourself of that and you actually write it down and put it up on a mirror and remind yourself, this is everything I have. There's not another human being in the future of the world who is going to be on this planet with these skills, talents, and abilities. Now is the time for me to let my spirit act and express through all of this so that I am the catalyst creating all these ripples in the world. All of us have the ability. We all are co-creators. We are all gigantic catalysts, gigantic energetic catalysts. And we can create gigantic ripples in the world. We already are doing it, whether we know it or not. So let's do it consciously, using our skills, talents, and abilities, what we love to do all day long. I have people who tell me, well, I've got to learn how to do this. I'm like, well, with that voice, why? You don't have to learn how to do that. Find somebody who loves to do that. That's what this planet is made up of. Does that help?
Definitely, definitely. Thank you.
Thanks.
That was awesome. Way to go, Latasha. Great question. And working with your team. And remember that they're looking to you to lead them, right? To give them that space. So as you're growing your team, you have this awesome opportunity and responsibility to as Diane was talking about, remind them of who they really are, to keep them connected to that, whatever that hook was that had them initially step up and say, yeah, I want to be a part of your team. Because it's just that reasoning mind, or maybe even the people around them telling them they can't sing, like my brother-in-law did, right? But you tell them you can sing. You do this. I'm here and I got your back. Like they have probably never had somebody like you be a stand for them.
I love that you said that, Nancy, because I mean, it really was when I was going through the biggest changes and shifts in my world and I was terrified. Bob would say, I will carry the belief for you because I know you. I know you can do this. And when you give that to another person, it's such a gift.
Yeah. Wonderful. Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Latasha. Great question. All right. Well, our next person that's got a question. I too wanted to create the most amazing intimate relationship in my life. And in order to do so, I got right within myself. I got aligned. And then somehow my guy had to be imported all the way from around the world. The other side of the world this man came from. So,
well, it's a good
very
thing you didn't have
awesome.
geography on your list, right?
Yes, that's good because I'm not very good at geography either.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
Hi, lovely to meet you. I hear
Thank you.
lovely
Same
things
here
about
as
you
well.
every single day.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've really enjoyed today. I've really enjoyed you talking. I've met Bob a few times, so I just
Oh,
brings
lovely.
back memories. I guess it does that as well as it does for others. The question I've got for you today is I want to talk about long-term dreams. You know, like we can start off having this, massive dream. And, I'm a really good manifester, but there's one or two of those really big dreams that have been there for years. And one thing I just realized while you were talking is over the years, the weight of the energy, I say, oh, yes, I'm still going to do this, but the energy behind it sort of dwindles a little bit over the years. It sort of loses that, like you can tell the same story, but it doesn't have quite the impact that you had when you first had that dream. What can you do about rekindling, if you like, some of those big dreams that we had maybe 3, 5, 10 years ago even?
Well, sometimes it's good to, first of all, look at that dream and say, I have grown this much and expanded this much as a spirit on this planet. Is this dream still a fit for me? Because sometimes you carry that along with you and you're like, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then, after you may be growing out of the vibration that dream is in. And so when you look at that and say, okay, is this still a fit for me? Or am I going to try to move myself back down to what this dream is? So if you still feel that the dream is a fit for you, then look at why your reasoning mind has decided it's a long-term dream. And look at that and say, well, okay, so what are the excuses that have come up in my mind that I haven't really been paying attention to that kept saying, you're going to get that dream later, you're going to have that, so put that on the shelf right now. Because in many cases, when you write what your big goals are, and then you kind of classify them according to like, I can do this now, I can do this in a year, and I can do this in a long term. The universe doesn't know the difference between now and long term.
Sure.
All it reads is your energy on it. So if you still want it and you still really perceive it as yours, then you've got to get back into that practice of practicing yourself being in the space of having achieved that big dream. Instead of calling it a long-term dream, it's already yours. It's already been done. Now, how does that feel? What kind of a life are you living? How are you imagining yourself in that space? And then the dream goes whoop, right here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
One of my long-term dreams was to get married. Did you know that?
Well, there you go. And I think
move to America.
And I think
moved
that's
to America.
happening,
It was a dream to move to America. And in actual fact, during COVID, I gave up and bought a big TV and a big massage chair and said, I'm never going to get to America. And then I met Nancy.
That was the reasoning mind.
I had to bring the TV and the chair with me, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. And
Thank you.
I love
you
it.
can't.
I'll share with you. I have two teenage daughters, and the idea of the grass is always greener on the other side is not always that way. The reality is my kids are looking at colleges, and we're on the east coast of the U.S. in Boston. They want to go to the west coast, and all the kids on the west coast want to come to the east coast. So you
Yes,
never
it's
know.
all perception, all
All
And
perception.
remember
perception is
too,
reality,
So,
right?
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Remember
You
too
know,
that you
and
never want to try to force a dream because forcing causes resistance. So, and you have to understand that there is a gestation period for sure. But make
yeah,
sure that the dream still is big enough for you.
Yep.
and it's right, it's the right fit. I love that you shared that. And case in point, you wanted the penthouse 2-year lease. Suddenly, 4 months later. So you brought that
Mhm,
dream together faster.
mhm.
So great stuff. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Diane.
Barry. I'll,
Thank
I'll
you,
see you
Nancy.
later. Thank you.
So
I know. I
cute.
still get giddy. How cute is that?
I love it. It's awesome.
Oh, maybe be like that 30 years from now too. So beautiful. All right, let me bring up my our next person. My dear friend Lisa Perez is in the house.
Hey, I am
Hello.
so glad I made it, Diane. Thank you so much, Nancy, for having her on. You have made me realize I am not crazy. I I
Well, I'm so
absolutely
glad.
I stay in imagination. I read this book, Your Dreams Are Too Small, a long time ago, and I've read many of Dr. Proctor's work. So thank you for supporting him in that work. And my question is, I love the visioning exercise that Nancy and the sisters do at our conferences. It is one of my most favorite. And I stay in imagination all the time. In fact, I have a quote up here from, I think it's Steve Jobs: people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And that just resonates for me because I dream big. So my question is, can you stay in imagination? And I do check in with reasoning every once in a while to make sure I don't get derailed or anything. But can you stay in imagination too much, is my question. Because I love to dream
Mhm.
big,
Well,
bodacious dreams and check in every once in a while. Can that too much of anything is a bad thing, right? They say. But I don't live that way when it comes to my dreams for myself, my business, my family, and all the things. So
uh-huh.
that's
Yep.
my question.
I mean, you look at Willy Wonka building out his chocolate factory, he just kept building out more and more amazing stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with continuing to dream big and dream and dream and dream and dream and dream, but do take action.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Always take
Things are
action.
happening.
Yes,
For
always
sure.
take action. Do whatever action you feel inspired to do whatever
Yeah.
call you need to make, whatever that is. Some
Yeah.
people will just dream and dream and dream and say, okay,
No.
everything's going to come my way. It's going to manifest. And law of attraction does have that kind of vibration. It does work with you in that regard. But it really likes it when you step forward in faith and say, I'm taking this action because I have this belief. I'm renting this storage unit because I'm buying all this new furniture for a place I don't
Right.
even have walls for yet.
Right.
And you start taking those actions and universe is like, okay, this person is serious.
Yes.
But
Yes.
there is nothing to ever stop imagination.
Yay.
I mean, Bob's favorite song in the whole world was Pretend by Nat King Cole. He would listen to it every morning. It's all about creating your reality. And the only way you create your reality is by starting with that
Yes.
intuitive, imaginative,
Yes.
wonderful spirit of you.
Yes. Yes. And it is happening all around me. So we're putting it in action. Thank you so much for being here. I already got my download and I can't wait for my 45 minutes. Thank you so much.
I know. I want to grab it. I haven't grabbed it yet either. I'm like, I want this. Like this is
That's
like
awesome.
the
I love her energy, don't you? She's
Thank
like,
you.
woo!
I love me some
Great
Lisa
energy.
Perez. I do. I do.
Thanks, Diane.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Lisa. All right. Our next caller and probably our final one is going to be Nellie Williams. And before I bring Nellie on, I thank you for this gift, for this conversation, for this upliftment. Diane, you are amazing, and I'm so grateful that you're with us today in our
Thank
community.
you. I am so
Yeah.
honored to be here. I just think the world of you girls. I mean, you ladies are amazing. So
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
It was part of our imagination and our vision,
There you
right? To
are.
create this awesome community. So once again, let's all here's something good. Imagine this. If everyone here gets the Tower of Power and you start using it and you start embracing it and bringing your visions and your desires and manifestations into quantum creation, what's that world look like? That's the world I want to live in. Yes, let's do this. Let's do this. All right. Go to dianearmitage.com/my tower. So let me bring on Nellie Williams. You are welcome to come on stage. If you'd like to come on screen, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to either. So what's your question for our guest today, Nellie?
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Diane. It is 7 a.m. here in Arizona. So Diane, you're on the West Coast, so it's even earlier for you.
No, it's like
I just-
7. Remember, Arizona changes only, I don't know, once or something a year. I'm at 7 a.m.
Okay,
too.
thank you. I think this was a great end of the year wrap up. The information is fabulous. It's a perfect tool to have under our belt as we begin the new year. And I want to thank you for sharing your words of wisdom and your
welcome.
gift with us. And I want to say, Nancy, thank you for calling me out at the beginning of the hour. Whoa, Nellie, no.
All right.
Don't stop. Don't hold back. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Nellie. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful.
It's just been an honor to be here with you, all of you.
Yeah, it's so good. Thank you, Nellie, for sharing that. And I just noticed, what are those awards behind you? Those statues.
Oh yeah, it's finally getting light. Those are some of my Nellies. Speaking
Well,
of,
we just had Nellie on.
They're Tellies, not Nellies. They're Tellies.
Tellies.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, they're Tellies. So Tellies are awards for television commercials, video, things, that kind of thing. Kind of like big productions, so to speak. So those are a few of them. I have some of them in storage. I haven't found them yet, but a lot of them came from working with Bob Proctor and some other things. So
awesome. Beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful, beautiful. So I was like, oh, what are those? Oh, I celebrate you, my friend Diane. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for showing up for yourself, for your vision, and for your future self. Tap in, go back and listen to this. Get the 40-minute, the 20-page. Like, this is the time for you to create the life that you desire and that you deserve. Let's get all the garbage out of the way. Let's go through this Tower of Power and see, every time I sit up straight, I really like it. So thank you for this huge gift I got today.
Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. I just love it. Thank you so much for letting me share.
Yeah, you are welcome. It's my pleasure and my purpose to bring more light, more love, and more brilliance into the world. And you did that beautifully for us today. So thank you, my friend. Thank you to all of our community here at Women's Prosperity Network for joining us. Remember, next week, Christmas Day, we will have no broadcast. Maybe I'll schedule something to go up to feed your spirit and your mind. But we will be together New Year's Day, 12 p.m. Eastern, with my annual New Year's message to support you in creating 2025 just as you'd love it to be. So have a great day, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.